Hello, well this time on How to Write a Book, as you can see on the screen, we're going to look at how to grab and keep your readers, something we all want to do, of course. So let's get stuck straight into this topic. How to grab and keep your readers. Yeah, sometimes you can grab a reader, but they'll soon lose interest, so it really is important to grab them and keep them. Now, many experts say that one of the best ways to grab a reader is to start with a question, and indeed, if you like, that applies to other things, because this video piece started off with how to grab and keep a reader. It's posing a question, so it doesn't have to be a direct question. It's something that's questioning, if you like. And yeah, the experts say start with that. That's a good, if you can't think of anything else, start with that, and you'll find lots and lots and lots of novels in particular that start with a question. And there's some famous novels that start with famous questions. I don't know how famous it is, but Who is John Galt is one of Ayn Rand's opening lines. But it's also true for non-fiction, posing a question which you then cover by going through some bit of theory or whatever, like the Professor Bondi's why is the sky dark at night? Which seems like a pretty obvious question, and when you start to think about it, really isn't at all. So starting with a question is a pretty good idea and not a bad fallback. And I think it works because it is actually very hard to ignore a question, isn't it? And typically, it does depend on the question, but the reader often really wants the answer. Even if they're not that interested, it's just getting rid of that sort of question in the head. So I think that's one of the reasons it works. But, and there's a huge but here, it is so heavily used as a technique that some people would say it's almost sort of cliched, that you might want to find some kind of alternative, even though, as I said, it's a good fallback. So what can you do if you don't want to start with an obvious question? Well, the funny thing is that asking a question is actually just one example of what is a much more general method, which uh, provides all sorts of useful ways of getting started. And the general method is sometimes called the pattern interrupt, which I think is a term may not come from NLP, but certainly is used in NLP. And a lot of people get very complicated about the whole thing, but it's fairly straightforward, really. And the idea is that you say something, or maybe do something, but in writing you write something that unexpectedly and abruptly breaks the reader's pattern of thought, and in an intriguing way. So, you know, whatever the reader's thinking about, you cause this kind of disruption or disconnect, and that is very effective. You, in a sense, don't give the reader a chance to think about whether they want to think about it. They just respond. And one of the reasons that questions work is that's what they do typically. But what else can you do to create a pattern interrupt, which is a very quick way to grab a reader's attention? And here's an example. You can say, well, here it is. It came straight through the window and knocked me over. Well, out of the blue, if you hear that statement, you might think, well, what on earth is that all about? But it does, in a sense, pose an interest, and you know, what came through the window and how did it knock him over and all the rest of it. So that's just an example of the kind of thing. This is completely out of the blue and random and whatever else. But so if you can think of something that just, you know, grabs the reader's attention because they can't make out what on earth is that, then that's going to work pretty well. So that's great for grabbing attention, but that was only half of the question asked right at the beginning, wasn't it? How do you then keep the reader's attention? And we all know that attention spans aren't as long as they used to be in the modern world with social media and everything. Keeping people's attention is perhaps harder than it's ever been. So what can you do? Well, it's quite simple in one sense. If every paragraph you write answers some sort of question, maybe something that was created as a question in the mind of the reader in the paragraph before, and at the same time it creates a new one, a new question in the reader's mind, then you pretty much are likely to be on the right track, because you are taking the reader through a mental process of just following a line of thought which is retaining their interest because it's posing questions. More easily said than done, but brilliant writers just keep doing that. They never let you go, but you don't get tired because it varies. What helps, of course, is if it isn't just one little question after another, which could get tedious, but if there's some bigger question behind it that you can build up to. Big questions and big answers. So it probably is working at two levels in effect. And that really is the basis of whatever technique there is that would grab a reader's attention and keep it. But what you need to do, of course, is think about whether, when you're writing, you are posing questions, you are intriguing the reader, if you are drip feeding or providing some sort of answer so they feel they're getting somewhere. And just asking yourself whether you're doing that or not is a long way towards getting it right. So that's it for another session on how to grab the reader's attention and keep their attention, and all part of how to write a book. And there we are for this session. So I hope you found it useful. I'm going to be fairly quick about this because I spent a bit too long on some of the previous ones. But do think of subscribing if you've found this useful. Please like it if you would. If you click on the bell, then you get notified of further sessions. Do post questions if you'd like me to cover something in a further one of these, and I'll do my best to follow it. And there'll be another one in a few days' time. So thanks for listening. I hope you found it useful, and I hope to see you again. Bye for now.